Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Wednesday, December 6th. So today we will see the moon in Virgo go void, of course, at 8:51 a.m. We will lock into Libran energy at 11:36 a.m. So, of course, the transition from Virgo energy to Libran energy is always a little bit lighter. We're moving out of the present moment, the physical body being rooted in this physical form, into our headspace. That Libran energy is an air energy. We have to move up into the mental plane. We just kind of sorted through and reprocessed a lot of information under that Virgo influence, especially with the last quarter moon popping off in that Virgo energy. That had us kind of sorting out the details, the good versus the bad, the old versus the new, what we are moving away from versus what we want to gain closer proximity to. And so the Libran energy, yes, we want everything to be light and fluffy. We want to bring peace and harmony and balance within ourselves and to our relationship dynamics. But furthering this particular contemplation situation that we're currently in, the exploration, the experimentation, the discovery process of this new version of self being in Sagittarius energy, the Libran energy is going to help us kind of create a division in the mess that we've been processing and see very clearly the line that we have to kind of draw in the sand, so to speak, in order to balance the scales between our heart and our head, our inner realm and our outer realm, and mostly in our relationships, because that is the major changing factor at this particular point. So we also have Neptune coming out of a retrograde, going direct here today, which of course, Neptune is a slow moving planet. So there's going to be a subtle shift that you may or may not pick up on here today. It is going to be a little bit more prominent, a little bit more noticeable as we move through the next course of these weeks, moving closer to the solstice energy. So of course, there is an astro forecast for you to go ahead, for you to listen to about what Neptune moving direct is going to be about. And of course, if you haven't downloaded your zodiac forecast for the month of December, you can go ahead and do that as well to understand where Neptune going direct is actually showing up in your life. So there are 12 different aspects taking place here today. 9 of them are going to involve the moon. The moon, while still very much in Virgo energy, going to sit across from and directly oppose Neptune, who is at the very standing point before going into a direct position. So there's a lot of, I'm going to say, shaking going on in our energetic realm, and that is due to Neptune kind of getting ants in his pants and ready to kind of move forward. Now, the moon sitting across from Neptune in this way is going to highlight where it is that we have to bridge the gap between our present moment, the physical reality, the logical, practical perspective on what it is that we're doing, and factoring in our intuition. Neptune, of course, wants us to kind of live in our dream, in our fantasy, in imagination land. But that Virgo energy is very rooted to this physical realm, to this here and now. Now, we've been discovering that if we pour too much into the physical realm, then we're kind of limited. We are basically looking at what is possible for us based off of our current circumstance. And we don't want to let our current circumstance dictate what is possible for us, because of course, when you are a energetic being and you have the power to kind of change and flip and really rearrange your situation, your circumstance, your scenario, you wouldn't want to let your current situation and circumstance dictate the futuristic possibilities for you. How we get around that is that we have to trust. We have to trust ourselves. We have to trust the process. We have to grasp a vision and a dream. We have to get into our energetic manifestation mode. So that's where Neptune comes in. He is really pushing for us to kind of bridge the gap between what is possible logically and practically and what is possible intuitively, emotionally, and of course, bringing in the element of the cosmos, the universal magic that's at play, we're really able to kind of see past our current circumstance when we're in alignment with our higher self. So it's very much kind of illuminating for us where it is that we have to bridge this gap, so to speak. Now, 2:54 a.m., again, Eastern Standard Time, this is when Neptune is going to station direct. And again, he's an outer planet. It's a subtle shift. We may not pick up on it right away, but as you'll discover by listening to the astro forecast for this particular event, we are going to see a major shift, a major change in our dreams, in our vision, in our intuition, in our psychic abilities, in the mystical part of our lives. The moon, still very much in Virgo energy, going to make a positive interaction with Mars. Mars, of course, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires. He's in Sagittarius energy. It's a great place for him to be in. He has been a little bit, I'm going to say, restricted in being able to take action and make moves on the big ideas in which we're having. We haven't been able to really see a whole lot of external change, external movement, external transformation. But you best believe that we are really working on our inner confidence, on our inner motivation, inner discipline. We're building ourselves up, so to speak, in order to take action when gifted with the opportunity to do so. The moon interacting with Mars in this way, we're definitely trying to kind of blend the best of both worlds. Yes, there's a magic, there's a dream, there's a vision, there's an idyllic type of situation, circumstance, and scenario that we would like to be making a forward motion towards. And the moon in Virgo is going to help us kind of plan and strategize the smaller details that are needed, emotionally speaking, mentally speaking, spiritually speaking, physically speaking. We need to get in a particular position within ourselves in order to understand what is required of us if we are going to bring certain dreams, certain visions, certain goals into fruition. Mars is then going to interact with the North Node in Aries in not the most favorable way. And so this is where we're going to feel the agitation, the frustration of kind of being quote unquote stuck, or at least paused in a state of paralysis, not being able to make the moves that we want to make, not being able to kind of assert ourselves in a path and a direction in which we were hoping to actually be on at this point. And so instead of seeing growth, instead of seeing, healing, instead of seeing an opportunity to move forward right now, we're kind of getting cluster effed in our mental plane and in our physical form on where it is that we're kind of, I'm going to say, feeling that restlessness build within us, feeling that shakiness, feeling that adrenaline kind of build up. We want to take action, we want to make moves, but we don't know where to kind of let this energy out. So we're kind of bouncing around like a pinball machine. And at this particular point, we're really not seeing the path, the plan, the direction of moving forward. Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, and how it is that we express ourselves, in Capricorn energy, is going to be making a tough interaction with Uranus. So, of course, Uranus is the great awakener. He's retrograde in Taurus energy, Capricorn energy, Taurus energy. They're both earth energies. So this is going to give us a major focus on our physical realm, on what needs to change, on what we're looking to improve, on what we need to be focused on. But this is really going to kind of put us in a scatterbrain type of energy. We are kind of having a hard time staying focused. A lot of that is contributed to Neptune kind of stationing direct. We're kind of ebbing and flowing. We're all over the place. We're having a hard time sticking to one thing and seeing that come into a form of completion. We're kind of all over the place. Now, not only are we all over the place mentally speaking, we're all over the place with our energy. Maybe we're taking too much on. Maybe we're biting off more than we can chew. Maybe we're not doing enough. Either way, there's an imbalanced energy here, and we're forgetting that, yes, this is a time to plan and strategize. This is also a time to be experimenting and pushing the boundaries of our comfort zone. And we may actually just find ourselves thinking so far ahead, projecting ourselves so far into the future that we're missing some vital information, some vital details in the here and now. And again, this is all about making sure that we're striking a balance by being able to see the big picture, vision, and dream, but yet being able to focus in on the smaller details that need to kind of be pieced together in order for us to actually get there. The moon is then going to trine Pluto. So we know that when the moon gets to the point where we're having an interaction with Pluto, that it must be at the final degrees of the sign in which it's in and preparing itself to move into a new sign. Why do we know that? Well, because Mr. Pluto, the great transformer himself, he is in the very late degrees of Capricorn energy. So when we see a planet near the ending of a zodiac sign, it just makes sense that there's going to be some kind of interaction at those later degrees. The moon interacting with Pluto in this way is a trine. It's a beautiful energy. There's going to be a little bit of growth. There's going to be some healing. There's going to be some solutions. There's going to be some clarity. There's going to be some aha moments. Pluto really likes to do a deep dive in our psyche, in the programming, in the conditioning, really examining where it is that we're actually creating limiting beliefs for ourselves, holding ourselves back, not really putting ourselves in a placement of power. The moon in Virgo definitely doing a little bit of inner reflection and processing on the egoic mental plane. So either way that we're looking at it here, we're doing a deep dive by examining the habits, the patterns, the looping thoughts and behaviors that keep us stuck in this particular situation and circumstance, emotional position as well, mental position as well. And this particular energy, because it's a trine, because there's growth, because there's healing, there is going to be an aha moment here. We are going to be kind of unearthing and unpacking, if you will, where it is that we have been preventing ourselves from moving forward, where we have been kind of limiting our narrative, our dialogue, our vision, our dream. And because we are having this awareness and because Pluto is involved, we have the ability to flip the script and really put ourselves in a more powerful position to kind of see where it is that those particular bumps in the road are holding us back. And of course, having the foresight that we're now tapping into, being able to see how it is that we're going to detour around some of these bumps, these obstacles, these challenges, and still kind of get to where it is that we need to go. It's at this particular point that we will see the moon in Virgo go void, of course. And as I previously mentioned, we will be locking into that Libran energy at 11:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. About an hour later, we're going to have the moon in Libra make a positive interaction with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, who is retrograde in Taurus energy. So some commonalities here: the Libran energy that the moon is in, the Taurus energy that Jupiter is in, they're both ruled over by Venus. Well, what's Venus up to? Well, she's doing a deep dive in the deepest, darkest parts of our passions, of our desires, of our fears, of our pain, of our trauma over there in that Scorpio energy. So there is an intensity that is going to take place because our heart is really being put through the ringer, so to speak, in order to do the shadow work needed to basically unearth and peel back some hidden layers of our heart space, what it is that we want to do, what we need to do, who and what truly makes us happy, is encouraging us, supporting us to do what it is that we need to be doing for ourselves. And of course, illuminating who and what is not doing any of those things. And from that, kind of realizing where it is that we have to create space and distance in these particular relationship dynamics. The moon in the Libran energy, again, wants to achieve peace and harmony and balance within oneself, especially where emotions are concerned. Jupiter, being a very optimistic, very confident type of energy, is really magnifying, turning the volume all the way up on where it is that we're feeling good about some of the revelations, the situations, the circumstances that we are currently focused on. Now, to say that we're feeling good, I don't want you to take that, too literal and run with it. What I'm saying is that there have been aha moments, there have been epiphanies, there have been revelations over the last little bit here that is bringing a lot more clarity to what it is that we need to be doing for ourselves. And in some cases, what that means is really putting ourselves in a situation to see where it is that we have to grow up, where it is that we have to glow up, where it is that we have to really start focusing in on what it is that we want for ourselves. What do we want to build? What do we want to create? What do we want to bring to life? So this is a very optimistic, light, fluffy, bubbly type of interaction that's really going to put us in a good mood, in a good attitude, to pluck out those silver linings and really focus on the attitude of gratitude that we're currently having for some of the clarity that is starting to trickle in. The moon is then going to interact with Saturn, though, in not the nicest way. And Saturn, being the Lord of Karma, ruling over systems, structures, roles, responsibilities, in this Pisces energy, definitely tapping into a new belief system, a new willpower, a new discipline within ourselves. The moon interacting with Saturn in this way definitely going to bring us down a couple of pegs, a little bit of a Debbie Downer, a little bit of a negative Nancy, but we are taking a little bit of a more realistic, more logical, practical approach to our emotions, especially where the ever-changing landscapes of our physical relationships are concerned. This is going to put us in a little bit of a tunnel vision situation and scenario to see where it is that we are holding on too tightly to connections that, of course, have run their course, where we've kind of learned the lesson, we've grown as much as we could from these particular interactions, but we have a hesitancy, a resistance, if you will, to actually letting them go. This is going to bring us into reality check land, where it is that we have to get real and raw and vulnerable with ourselves and really start thinking about what it is that we want to build, what we want to create, and who is going to be a part of that vision. The moon is then going to interact with Venus. Venus, of course, ruling over the Libran energy that the moon is currently in. Lucky for us, this is a positive interaction, which means that out of that tougher interaction that we just had with Saturn, there obviously had to been some clarity. There obviously had to been some kind of aha moment, because this particular interaction is suggesting that we are really realizing where it is in our heart space that we've been holding on to some dead weight, where it is that we've been really just kind of intertwined and too connected to some of the situation, circumstance, especially with some of the individuals that, of course, those particular soul contracts and karmic chapters are now coming to an end as we approach this timeline merging point, this unification point under the solstice energy. So we're really starting to put into perspective how it is that we're thinking, how it is that we're feeling. We see the good from the bad. We see the old from the new. And we're really starting to kind of draw a line in the sand of what it is that we are no longer willing to carry, what we're no longer willing to experience, and continue to kind of, drag on, so to speak, and where it is that we do have to kind of create distance, create space, and in some cases cut the cord entirely in order for us to move on. The moon is then going to interact with the sun in the most positive of ways, and this is definitely going to be a little bit of a pick-me-up. The moon, of course, in Libran energy is an air energy. The sun in Sagittarius energy is a fire energy, and I want to give you the analogy of a campfire. So in order for that fire, that spark, that passion, that creativity, that initiation type of energy that Sag is giving us, in order for that fire to stay lit, there has to be oxygen. That's where the air comes in. Oxygen, air element, a lot of thought, a lot of processing, a lot of focus, a lot of inspiration, a lot of imagination really coming into form here. And anytime that we have the moon and the sun coming together in a positive interaction, this is an aha moment. We're bringing something from our unconscious realm into our awareness. And so there is an epiphany, there is a shift in our mood and in our attitude. So as long as we're able to balance out these energies, meaning not move so far up into our head space and in our heart space that we're just, verbal vomiting and mentally just unpacking all of these thoughts, all of these ideas, all these inner dialogues onto this fire, what's going to happen is that the fire is going to get out of control. We're going to end up burned, okay? We have to maintain a certain balance. We want that fire energy that is helping us to be motivated and inspired and tap into new creativity and put ourselves in a new situation to really express ourselves. And again, experimenting with this new version of self. We want that fire to stay at a steady pace so that we can continue to see the light. We can continue to cultivate these new ideas. We can continue to kind of experiment with our inner realm, what we're passionate about, what we're inspired about. But if we give too much thought to it, if we just overwhelm it with too much air, too much oxygen, then that fire is going to get out of control. We are going to be burned. So there is an element of realizing where it is that balance is 100% needed in our lives, especially with these new ideas, these new awarenesses, and really just not kind of consuming ourselves with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, the ifs, ands, and buts, the probabilities, the possibilities, and instead just kind of focus on cultivating this new inspiration, motivation, creative energy, and keep it at a very balanced energy to keep our fires and fuels burning. The moon is then going to interact with Uranus in not the nicest way. Again, the Libran energy, the Taurus energy that Uranus is in, they have a common ruler, which is Venus. And Venus is doing a deep dive in Scorpio energy, really unearthing a lot of aha moments, a lot of revelations that are truly going to change the game once we kind of get through this transit. The moon interacting with Uranus in this way, because it's not the most favorable one, we're not gaining clarity, we're sitting in confusion. We're not breaking through, we may actually be breaking down. We may not see the way forward. Instead, we're going to think of all the reasons of why we're going to be stuck here forever. It doesn't feel good. It's not emotionally what it is that we were hoping for at this particular point. But again, with the moon in Libra, we have to find balance, peace, and harmony through the experience of the extremes. And this is definitely a case of that, especially seeing how we are hoping to kind of gain more and more puzzle pieces and see them snap together and really kind of see the bigger picture be revealed. We're not quite there yet. The moon is then going to get into the boxing ring and square off with Mercury. Okay, so Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves in Capricorn energy, thinking very logical and practical, thinking very long term, both forward and back. thinking about our goals, our ambitions, the structure, the path, the strategy needed in order for us to get there. Well, our mental plane is kind of grounded out, very rooted out, kind of serious and somber, which is not a vibratory match to the moon being in Libran energy that wants to keep everything light and fluffy in the shallow end of our emotional realm. So our heart and our head, not on the same page as of this particular moment. Even more than that, we're going to be illuminated to the conflict between how it is that we're thinking and how it is that we're feeling, understanding the distance, the gap in that particular relationship, really sorting out where it is that emotionally speaking, we're either very high up in a state of delusion, trying to see the best potential out of all situations, which of course is ignoring the truth, the reality, or we're dipping so far low that we're a little bit of a negative Nancy, a little bit of a Debbie Downer, and of course the goal is to meet somewheres in the middle. Either way, that Mercurial energy and Capricorn energy not budging. We do not move, we do not kind of bend, we do not kind of, I'm going to say, adapt to the ever-changing emotions that, of course, the moon in Libra is constantly going through. So it feels like we're very rigid in our thinking, but of course, our emotional realm not matching what we're currently thinking right now. And we're trying to find that sweet spot where we can get in agreement, mind, body, and soul.